All right, welcome back, YouTube. What we got is a 16th ounce pill head in the vise. Had a few extra feathers laying around. I'm gonna tie this jig up. Might have to cut a few more, but it's gonna be pretty basic, pretty simple. Uh, we're gonna throw some hackle feathers in it, some flash in it. We're gonna UV resin coat it. Been getting a lot of orders for this style jig. Very streamlined, very simple. Neat but messy at the same time, if that makes any sense. So let's tie this jig up. Let's get it in the UV light. Let's get it ready for the next order, getting ready to get shipped out. But we are going with our Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. I haven't made it back down to Plateau Fly Shop to get stocked up on Hairline Dub and Hard as Whole head cement, which we'll end up doing that here pretty soon. We are using Danville's, what size we got in here? 210 waxed Flymaster Plus. Cover's good. It's thick. It's heavy. It'll cover up everything I want to cover up when I go to UV resin coat it, because I don't like having the red showing through my UV resin coat. So let's trim that tag end off. Let's put our flash in first. We're going to flash it up. Like I said, you can't go wrong flashing it up. I flash up every jig I make unless I get an order where somebody says they don't want flash in it, and I get orders like that sometimes also. Some people like it to flash, some people don't like it to flash, but we are using rainbow flash in this. We're going to lay it right there behind the head, and we're going to go down about maybe about 1/4 of an inch as far as we're going to wrap that. Make your first wraps a little bit loose. Come back up and try to keep that thread where you're buttoning it up right against the last wrap, and that'll help keep covering all those colors up when you get ready to do that UV resin. Because I want that UV resin to where it's going to be chartreuse, which is going to be the color of the thread. That's what we're after. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to stack our feathers together. 2 pieces of hackle, a red one and a chartreuse. We're going to make them where they're even. Pull them down here, get them together. Reach up there and cut that excess off. Pull them together, get all your little fibers out of there. All your little feather strands that you don't need. And we're going to start with 2 right on the back of the shank of the hook. Wrap it loose so you know you got it where you want it at, and then pull your tight wraps up from the bottom, up, trying to stack that thread right beside the last wrap, just like so. Now we are going to take a piece of chartreuse. It's pretty thick, pretty wide feather. We're going to cut it down to where it's about the same size as the other ones. So we're going to cut about an 1/8 inch, 3/16 of an inch off that one. We're going to lay it right here on its side, and we're going to tie that one in. We're going to angle that feather back toward the point of the hook. And then come undone on me. Let's try that again. Let's go back up here to the top. Let's lay that feather in there at kind of like at a 45-degree angle. We're going to start pulling it down. That way you kind of got a little bit covering the shank of that hook. You got a little bit covering the hook point. Apologize for that. Give it a good wrap all the way up here to the head. And like I said, when you start wrapping your head, you want to start making it to where it's going to taper. So put a few extra wraps on the head and then work your way back down. We want that to where it kind of builds up. And we're going to put another red piece of hackle right there on the end. Cut just a little bit off that one. There ain't much to this little piece of hackle. It's kind of like a needle point. But it's going to be just enough there to fill in the rest of that. Catch it. 45-degree angle it. Cover up that hook point just a little bit. And then wrap it. Be easy with all these wraps. Keep an eye on it. If you're using a vise that has the rotary function, which I recommend the Peak rotary vise for that, That way you kind of keep an eye on how your thread's laying. And you see I got a little bit of red right there on the side of that showing through. I'm going to wipe that off and make sure that ain't some of that powder paint that melted on the shank of that hook. It don't take much to melt that off. And when I mean melt it off, it's chemical reaction with that fingernail polish will kind of eat at that paint and it'll bubble through, which isn't a bad thing because you know for sure that clear fingernail polish is coming through all them threads. It's setting it up. It's actually gluing it down just a little bit more. So see, as we're working more up here toward the head of that jig and we're keeping that neck tapered up. Then we're going to go back down. We'll come back up with that taper. Just like so. I see a red piece right back here at the back. I didn't quite get covered up, so we're going to come back up there. We're going to cover that up. It's a small detail, but it's a small detail I pay attention to. Small details sometimes can make these jigs look better than what you think. The lack of the small detail, paying attention to the detail can make it to where it's not really what you wanted. Take your time. Till you get used to tying, you get used to wrapping, don't put no glue down. You can always back up and you can always take away from it. That thread cinched down nice and tight. Reach in there with your scissors. Cut your bobbin loose. And we're going to put some UV resin on that. We're going to brush it down pretty good. I've already done the head and the eyes, so we're just going to worry about the body for now. See that drip building up on the end of that brush? We're going to push that whole drip on there. And we're going to let that drip work itself out. You see what I'm talking about? See how it's starting to fall down? Rotate it real slow, and that drip will actually cover that neck for you instead of having to keep pushing around with that brush. Just kind of follow that drip. See how it's starting to roll right there? It's cool down here in the garage, so it's not wanting to roll real smooth. When it's 110 degrees down here, it's almost like water. We might have to brush a little bit more back in there. So clean your brush off. You don't want to put any more resin on there than what you've already got. We're just going to make sure it made it all the way down. We're going to make sure the neck and the head are now bonded together as one. So let's hit it with our UV light. Let's get in there nice and close. Just like that. Let's let it get, we're not going to cure it. We're just going to get it to where it's tacky enough to where it's not going to run anymore. Then we're going to put it in our bigger UV light and set it in there. And while I tie the next one, I let that one cure and I just keep rotating jigs in and out until I got it. I keep it in there until it is not tacky anymore. It's smooth feeling. Feels like a piece of glass, actually, is what it feels like. The UV light works great, but if you've got a good sunny, bright, you got a window where the sun's just pouring into it, use the sunlight. The sunlight, there's a lot more UV light in the sun than there is in this flashlight. I can guarantee you that. There's all kinds of UV contraptions. You can build boxes. I've got one I've been working on. I just haven't got it quite finished up yet. But that is what we got. It's tacky enough. We can take it out. We can look at it. Put it back in the vise so that way we can critique it, criticize it. There's a little bit of red on the back side of the tail. I think I didn't quite get covered up. I left my flash kind of long. When I sell jigs to people that want the flash, a lot of times I leave the flash hanging out. If you don't want it back there, you reach in there with a pair of scissors, trim it off. You can break it off, but you won't be able to pull it out. You'll have to take a pair of scissors and cut it. See the red right there? I didn't quite get covered up. Small detail. It's not going to hurt nothing. The crappie ain't going to notice that little speck of red. But it did come out pretty good. That is what we got. Pay attention to the logo on the hoodie. Outlaw Rods. I had a chance to sit down and talk to J.R. Odom yesterday. He put a couple of these Outlaw rods in my hands. I'm a firm believer now in the feel of this rod. When the new boat comes in, we're going to do some videos with those rods. We're going to put them to the test. I'm telling you, I didn't even catch fish with this rod, but just holding on to it, feeling the action in this rod is something, you know, the guy lives 20 minutes away from me. The rods were awesome. And like I said, there'll be videos coming up with rods. We'll do some stuff here in the garage. We'll go over them. We'll dissect them. We'll pick them out. We'll put them on the boat. We'll be fishing with them before I get the new boat. I'm ready to get this boat back out in the cold just to fish with these rods. Outlaw crappie rods, check him out. Outlaw crappie poles, check him out. He's even got a TikTok page, First Outlaw. Yep, check him out. See what you think. Got any questions, comments, remarks? Let me know. This is the only video I'm going to post for today. That is the Jawbreaker and 16th ounce glass body. Like, share, subscribe, hit that thumbs up. Let me know. I'll let you know when I post another video. For now, that is all I got. See you guys.